The world outside is a kingdom of ice. Here in Yakutsk, Siberia, we find ourselves in what is officially the coldest city on Earth. It is a place where, honestly, the simple act of breathing can feel like a challenge. The air is so cold it can freeze your nostrils shut. Yet, for the 500,000 souls who call this remote outpost home, life goes on with remarkable resilience. On this particular morning, the thermometer has plunged to a staggering -50 degrees Celsius. Inside a modest, well-insulated apartment, the day begins for Sardana, her husband Isen, their 8-year-old son, Maxim, and the newest member of their family, 2-month-old Irina. The sun, a pale, distant disk, will not truly rise for some time, but the city is already stirring. Sardana is the first to wake. Her movements are quiet, practiced, a routine honed by years of living at the edge of the world. The first order of business is always the same: check the heating. The radiators that line the walls hum with a life-giving warmth, a constant battle against the relentless cold seeping through even the thickest of window panes. A flicker of the lights, a quick glance to ensure the power is stable, and then she moves to the kitchen. The air inside is warm, almost stuffy, a stark contrast to the brutal environment just a few feet away. She begins preparing breakfast, the familiar sounds of clinking pots and running water, a comforting start to another day in the deep freeze of Yakutia. From the small bedroom, a soft coo signals that baby Irina is awake. Sardana smiles. She goes to the crib and gently lifts her daughter. In this part of the world, newborns are precious treasures, shielded with immense care from the harsh elements. Irina is swaddled in soft, warm blankets, her tiny face peeking out. Sardana begins the morning ritual, a gentle stretching exercise that local mothers believe helps a baby's development. She carefully moves Irina's little arms and legs, a tradition passed down through generations. It is a tender moment of connection, a quiet promise of protection against the formidable world outside the apartment walls. Maxim is next to wake, rubbing his eyes and shuffling into the kitchen for a warm glass of milk. He is already thinking about school. For children in Yakutsk, the school day is dictated not by the clock, but by the thermometer. If the temperature drops below -45 degrees Celsius, the younger children are allowed to stay home. Today, it is right on the edge. Isen checks the official school announcements on his phone. The news comes through. School is on. Maxim lets out a small groan, but he knows the routine. It is just another day of life in the coldest city on the planet, where ordinary existence feels like an extraordinary feat. The apartment is a sanctuary, a bubble of warmth and life sealed off from the frozen landscape. For baby Irina, this small, cozy space is her entire world. She will not feel the sting of the outside air on her cheeks for many months, perhaps not until the brief, fleeting Siberian summer arrives. Yakut mothers follow a deeply ingrained tradition of keeping their newborns indoors for an extended period. Some, especially in more traditional families, adhere to a strict 40-day rule during which the baby is not shown to anyone outside the immediate family. This is partly a superstition to ward off ill spirits, but it is also a practical measure. An infant's delicate respiratory system is simply no match for the extreme cold. Sardana unwraps Irina for her morning care. The air inside the apartment, though warm, is incredibly dry due to the constant heating. This poses its own set of challenges, particularly for a baby's sensitive skin. Sardana massages a special, thick moisturizing cream all over Irina's body, a daily ritual to prevent dryness and irritation. It is a small but vital act of care. Afterwards, it is time for feeding. Sardana, like most mothers here, exclusively breastfeeds. Local wisdom, backed by modern medicine, holds that mother's milk provides essential antibodies that are crucial for building a strong immune system, a baby's first line of defense in such an extreme climate. Keeping the apartment warm is a constant and costly concern. The central heating system works tirelessly, but it comes with a hefty price tag. Utility bills in winter can consume a significant portion of a family's income. And there is always the underlying fear of a power outage or a heating failure, which in these temperatures would be a genuine emergency. Families must always be prepared, with extra blankets, warm clothing, and sometimes even a small backup generator. The home is not just a place of comfort, it is a fortress, and maintaining its defenses is a daily responsibility that no one takes for granted. Parenting is a shared duty. Aysen, before he leaves for his job in construction, helps with Maxim and takes a moment to play with Irina. In Yakutsk, family bonds are forged in the shared struggle against the elements. Maternity leave is generous, with mothers like Sardana able to stay home for up to 3 years, a government policy that acknowledges the unique demands of raising a child here. Nannies are almost unheard of. Childcare is a family affair, with grandparents often playing a central role. Natural childbirth is also very common, seen as a more traditional and resilient way to bring new life into this challenging world. The decision has been made. School is open. For 8-year-old Maxim, this means preparing for a journey that would seem impossible to most children his age. The process of getting dressed is a serious, multi-layered affair. It starts with thermal underwear, followed by a fleece layer, and then a thick, insulated snowsuit. Woolen socks, felt-lined boots known as valenki, a warm hat that covers his ears, a scarf wrapped around his face until only his eyes are visible, and finally, thick mittens. Every inch of exposed skin is a potential victim of frostbite, a lesson every Yakutsk child learns from a very young age. It takes a good 10 minutes to assemble this personal armor against the cold. Sardana gives him a final check, tucking in his scarf and pulling his hat down firmly. She gives him a hug and a kiss on his small exposed patch of forehead. "Be careful," she says, a standard parting phrase that carries a much heavier weight here. Maxim nods. He's old enough to walk to the bus stop on his own, a journey of about 10 minutes. It is a rite of passage, a step towards the independence and resilience required to thrive in this environment. He shoulders his backpack, gives a quick wave, and opens the apartment door, stepping out into the thick, icy fog that blankets the city. The walk to the bus stop is an assault on the senses. The air is so cold it feels sharp, and each breath is a visible cloud of white vapor. The snow underfoot crunches with a distinctive loud squeak, a sound unique to these extreme low temperatures. Maxim walks briskly, his face protected by his scarf. He knows not to run, as sweating can be dangerous. Moisture can freeze and dramatically lower body temperature. He also knows the signs of danger, the tingling numbness that signals the start of frostbite, or the sudden overwhelming urge to simply sit down and rest, a siren call of severe hypothermia. These are not abstract dangers, they are real, present threats on his daily commute. At the bus stop, a small group of similarly bundled figures waits. The buses themselves are specially adapted, with double-paned windows and powerful heaters working overtime. When the bus arrives, a cloud of exhaust and warmth billows out as the doors open. The children clamber aboard, a collective sigh of relief as they enter the heated interior. Inside, they peel back their scarves, their faces flushed from the cold. The journey to school is a brief respite, a warm transition from the fortress of home to the fortress of school, another heated haven where learning can take place despite the icy siege outside. With Maxim on his way to school and Aysen off to work, the apartment grows quiet again. Sardana's day unfolds in a rhythm of childcare and household chores. One of the most unique tasks involves securing the family's water supply. While the apartment has running water from the city's utility pipes, which are heavily insulated and buried deep underground, many families supplement this with a purer source, river ice. During the coldest months, the Lena River freezes solid, and its ice is considered exceptionally clean. Entrepreneurs cut massive, pristine blocks of ice and deliver them to neighborhoods, much like a milkman from a bygone era. Sardana opens the door to her balcony, which in winter serves as a giant free-of-charge deep freezer. The blast of cold air is immediate and shocking, Stacked neatly in a corner are several large blocks of ice, each a luminous block of frozen river. She uses a small axe to chip off a manageable piece, places it in a large bucket and brings it inside. The bucket is placed near a radiator, and throughout the day the ice will slowly melt, providing crystal clear water for drinking and cooking. This tradition is not just about purity, it is a connection to the land and a resourceful way of life that has sustained the Yakut people for centuries. The balcony freezer is also used for storing food. A whole fish bought at the market is frozen solid in minutes. Bags of berries picked during the short summer, meat and other perishables are all preserved perfectly by the natural, unrelenting cold. This eliminates the need for a large electric freezer, another clever adaptation to the environment. Inside, Sadhana prepares a traditional Yakut soup for lunch. The key ingredient is rich, fatty beef. In this climate, a high-fat, high-calorie diet is not a luxury. It is a necessity. The body needs a tremendous amount of energy simply to stay warm, and these hearty, warming meals provide the fuel required to survive. Another fascinating chore is laundry. After washing the clothes, Sadhana takes the wet garments out onto the balcony. In the -50-degree air, they freeze solid almost instantly, standing stiff and brittle like cardboard cutouts. This process, known as freeze-drying, actually helps to remove moisture. After a few hours, she brings the frozen clothes back inside, and as they thaw, they are nearly dry, needing only a short time hanging indoors to be ready to wear. It is a peculiar but effective method, another example of how people have turned the challenges of their environment into practical solutions for daily life. Even with a newborn, life cannot be lived entirely indoors. There are errands to run, necessities to acquire. Sadhana needs to make a quick trip to the small shop just down the street. Taking Irina outside requires a level of preparation akin to a polar expedition. The baby is dressed in multiple layers, a soft cotton undersuit, a woolen layer, and finally, a thick, down-filled snowsuit designed for infants. Her face is the most vulnerable part, so Sadhana applies a special, protective, waxy balm to her cheeks to shield them from the wind and cold. Irina is then placed into a pram that has been lined with a sheepskin blanket for extra insulation. The final step is to cocoon the entire pram in a thick, insulated cover, leaving only a tiny opening for air. Sadhana herself dons her own formidable winter gear, fur-lined boots, a long fur coat, and a fur hat. Fur is not a fashion statement here. It is the most effective material for trapping heat and protecting against the brutal cold. Dressed and ready, she pushes the pram out of the apartment building's entrance. The cold hits like a physical blow. The air is filled with an icy haze, a mixture of fog and pollution that hangs low over the city in the absence of wind. The journey is short, only about 5 minutes, but it is undertaken with purpose and speed. People on the street do not linger. They walk briskly, heads down, their breath pluming in front of them. The world seems muted, the snow dampening all sound. Cars move slowly, their engines left running even when parked to prevent them from freezing. Many vehicles are fitted with second, thicker windscreens and radiator covers to protect them. Starting a car that has been left off for too long is an exercise in hope and desperation, often involving blowtorches and a great deal of cursing. Ison's car, like many, is connected to a special outdoor heater outlet at his apartment building to keep the engine from freezing overnight. Reaching the shop provides a welcome blast of warmth. Inside, Sadhana quickly gathers what she needs: bread, milk, and some vegetables. The pram stays just inside the door, its precious cargo sleeping soundly, oblivious to the extreme temperature shift. The errand is completed with efficiency. There is no time for casual browsing or idle chat. Every moment spent outdoors is a calculated risk, especially with an infant. The return journey is just as swift. Back inside the apartment, the process of unwrapping begins, peeling away the layers of protection until baby Irina is back in the safe, warm cocoon of her home. In Yakutsk, the healthcare system has adapted to the climate. For newborns like Irina, routine checkups do not involve a trip to a clinic, which would expose the infant to unnecessary risk. Instead, the doctor comes to them. Once a month, a pediatrician makes a home visit. Dr. Valentina arrives, stamping the snow from her boots in the hallway. She brings a portable scale and all the necessary equipment in a well-insulated bag. These visits are a lifeline for new mothers, providing reassurance and essential medical care without having to brave the outdoors. Dr. Valentina carefully examines Irina, checking her weight, her reflexes, and listening to her heart and lungs. She asks Sardana about feeding, sleeping patterns, and any concerns she might have. Today, Irina is also due for her routine vaccinations. The doctor administers the shots with a practiced, gentle hand. She explains the importance of the vaccination schedule, which is followed as rigorously here as anywhere else in the world. The home visit system is a perfect example of how public services are tailored to the unique realities of life in the Siberian north, ensuring the health and well-being of its youngest and most vulnerable citizens. Later in the day, Sardana begins to prepare the family dinner. Isen will be home soon, and Maxim will return from school, hungry and cold. The cost of food in Yakutsk is a significant consideration for every family. With a short growing season, almost all fruits and vegetables have to be transported over vast distances, making them incredibly expensive. A simple apple or a head of lettuce can cost several times what it would in a more temperate region. As a result, the local diet relies heavily on what is available locally and what can be preserved meat, fish, and hardy root vegetables. Tonight's meal is a feast of local flavors. There is the rich beef soup, a staple of every table. Alongside it, a fried fish caught from the Lena River and a side of boiled potatoes. For dessert, there are wild berries, picked and frozen during the summer, served with thick cream. It is a meal designed to replenish, to warm from the inside out, and to provide the calories needed to face another frozen day. The family gathers around the table, the simple act of sharing a meal, a powerful ritual of togetherness and comfort in the heart of the cold. As evening descends, the city outside seems to retreat further into the grip of the ice. The temperature, which warmed up to -42 during the day, begins its nightly plunge back towards -50. Inside the apartment, however, a different kind of warmth fills the air. Isen is home from work, his face still red from the cold. Maxim is busy with his homework at the kitchen table, occasionally asking his father for help with a maths problem. Sardana rocks Irina gently, humming a soft Yakut lullaby. The television murmurs in the background, a connection to the wider world, but the real world is here, within these four walls. This is the heart of survival in Yakutsk. It is not just about the fur coats, the heated pipes, or the insulated windows. It is about the strength of the family unit. People depend on each other completely. They share the burdens of the daily routine, from chipping ice for water to bundling up the children for school. They find joy not in grand excursions, which are impossible for much of the year, but in the small, intimate moments of home life. A shared meal, a story before bed, the sound of a baby's laughter. This mutual support is the invisible insulation that protects them from the harshness of their environment. Later, after Maxim is in bed and Irina is sleeping soundly in her crib, Sardana and Isen have a quiet moment to themselves. They drink hot tea with milk, a Yakut tradition, and talk about their day. They discuss finances, the rising cost of heating, and plans for the weekend, which will likely be spent indoors, perhaps visiting relatives who live in a nearby building. Life is circumscribed by the cold, but it is not diminished. Instead, it is focused, concentrated on what truly matters: family, community, and the simple, profound act of caring for one another. Outside, the stars are brilliant in the clear, frigid sky. The city is quiet, hunkered down for the long, cold night. For Sardana and her family, and for all the people of Yakutsk, this is home. It is a life of extraordinary challenges, but it is also a life filled with a deep, resilient warmth. It is a testament to the human spirit's ability to create a haven of light and love in the very coldest, darkest corner of the world. And as they sleep, they gather their strength, ready to greet the frozen dawn of another day.